of Women in Chemical Engineering, which is an organization that started in 2016 and is the coordinating organization for this event. Wanted to give some quick shout outs. That's really my only role, is to stand up here and thank a bunch of people. So certainly we want to thank all of our sponsors who have supported us in various ways at the event, whether it's through donations to gifts for our workshop leaders and our panelists, or tabling and being out there to talk to you about various job opportunities or professional opportunities, or through sponsoring getting our panelists here and our programs printed, room reservations, all of the nuts and bolts of running an event. I want to specifically ask my planning committee to stand up for a minute if they are in the room. Okay, they're all running around planning things that will not plan. They've done an awesome job. We'll have some great conversations, great networking opportunities, and some good food throughout the event. And then if you're 21 and hanging around still later on, we'll also have some drinks later on. I also want to thank our volunteers. We certainly cannot run this event without our volunteers. We have about 50 volunteers who help make sure that chairs get in the room, tables get out of the room, the rooms get turned over for various things. It's absolutely critical to our event to be able to pull this off with our volunteers, not without them. And so certainly if you see anybody wearing a wiki shirt or a badge that says volunteer on it, please thank them profusely, because we certainly couldn't have this event run without them. Just some quick highlights. You all should have gotten a program. This is color-coded because that's how we love to do stuff. You'll see what all of the sort of timeline for tonight is, with a lot of breaks, of course supplemented with food in between to really help encourage the networking and talking to each other, which is really what we hope you do this evening. You also have a map that's kind of telling you where everything is. We'll be in and out of this room a lot, so we've got coffee, tea, drinks, snacks, that'll be just out on the other side of this wall if you need some re-energizing or reboosting food or calorie intake. A couple of things in your program that I want to highlight, just so you can use these throughout the evening. So you'll see bios for our panelists. We have QR codes if you want to read more about their companies. So this should be hopefully a way to engage and dig deeper on things that you're interested in learning more about. We have notes for you to take for both the workshops and the panels. And then one thing we really ask is we love to make sure that we're improving and we're iterating every year. So there is a QR code on the back of your program. That is a survey that when you get the chance, if you could fill out, that would be fantastic. Let us know what went well, what we could do better on, what you'd like to hear more of, because that certainly helps us plan these events for the future. One of our sponsors, Moon Valley Organics, is also giving us an offer code of 20% off of all their products. Valid through the end of the year, so thanks to them, you can get some neat and nifty like lotions and soaps and chapsticks and other things that I didn't research ahead of time before standing up here. But the Wiki 20 code will work for you until December 31st. I do want to ask all of our industry speakers to stand up because they have traveled or taken time out of very busy schedules to be here and talk to you today. So if all of y'all can stand up. Thank you for being here. We've got a fantastic lineup of panelists, as well as Cynthia Pierre, who will get up here in a few minutes and give a keynote talk. And then we have this really unique feature this year that we're excited about, which is this conversation between Cynthia and Kay about the future of chemical engineering. That'll have a poll for live audience questions for you to upvote or downvote based on what you want to hear more about. We also are excited to roll out a new aspect of this event that's different from our past years and something we've been aiming to do as we've grown this event over the years. And that's our workshops, which are really intended to give you tangible takeaways to implement immediately in your professional development, ongoing job search, or career development. So if our workshop leads can stand up, that would be great if you're in the room. They've all taken time and put a lot of preparation into these. So thank you for the time that went into that. The workshop sessions are structured to be 20 minutes each. So this is like quick and dirty, get how-tos on how to do any of these things. We'll ring a bell to tell you when your time's up and when you'll rotate to the next session. And that'll take place after dinner, so you'll be nice and satiated for learning a bunch of stuff. Okay, I am going to hand this over to Stephanie Ford, who is our Industry Event Planning Committee Chair for this year. So she's been wrangling all the planning committee for the past 6 months. She is going to introduce our keynote speaker.
Hi everyone, thanks for coming. I'm so excited to introduce our opening keynote speaker, Cynthia Pierre. She is going to be giving her talk entitled, You Build Your Future, Opportunity Stems from Preparation. So Cynthia is currently the Chief of Staff to the COO of Fuels North America at BP. And prior to her career at BP, Cynthia worked at the Dow Chemical Company and holds 6 U.S. granted patents. Cynthia earned her bachelor's in chemical engineering from Princeton University and her PhD in materials science and engineering from Northwestern University. Cynthia has recently been recognized for her achievements in technology by being awarded the 2018 Eminent Engineer Award by the Minority Affairs Committee of the American Institute of Chemical Engineers and the 2019 Golden Torch Award for Outstanding Woman in Technology by the National Society of Black Engineers. We're so excited to have her here. Let's please join me in welcoming Cynthia.
Good evening, everyone. It's always so energizing and exciting to be back on a college campus. So I'd like to thank the organizing committee for inviting me and allowing me to get back here and actually probably get more out of this than what I'll give you in the next 15 minutes or so. But it makes me very nostalgic, and it actually, since we're thinking about the future, it takes me back to the past when I remember accepting or receiving an envelope about my admission to Princeton. And I remember getting the letter, and I was with my little sister, who's about 4 years my junior. And we opened it up, and it had a big yes from Dean Fred in the cover letter. We started jumping up and down, extremely excited because I got in. And as we're celebrating, my little sister stopped me and said, "So wait, where are you moving to?" And I said, "I don't know," and I had to admit it. And I share this story to tell you how you can have quite an experience, quite a future, without knowing all of the details. And what I believe is critical to paving whatever future you'd like, within engineering especially, is being prepared. And I'm a firm believer that if you do the work now, you can create whatever future or pave whatever road that you'd like to have. And as we're talking about the future, and I'm really excited to be here with you guys tonight because I truly believe you are the future. And I don't have a crystal ball, so I can't tell you exactly what the world will look like in 10, 20, or 30 years. If I could, I'd be somewhere else tonight. But what I do believe is that all of us here are part of the STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics community. And I believe that each of us have pillars within our career setting that, okay, maybe I won't stand with them. We have pillars that unite all of us, which I like to call our STEM journey. And these pillars, I believe, you can resonate with, and I hope to share my story tonight and just inspire you to dream big and create the future that you would like to have. And those 4 pillars, I believe, are great supporters, great educators, great opportunities, and lastly, passion, which ties all of that together. So when I think about great supporters, I like to start with the very beginning, my parents, Agnes and Charlemagne. They actually didn't go to university and don't have a post-secondary education, but what they instilled in me was the ability to work hard and tenacity like none other. So watching them and the responsibility that they gave me to excel and do well, they actually demanded that of me, really helped shape who I am today. And I think it helped to put something in me that allowed my high school physics teacher, wait, that's not him. Some might think of that high school physics teacher as a mad scientist, but Mr. Nami, he saw something in me during my sophomore year of high school, where he thought that, wait, there's something different about this Cynthia Pierre, and I'd like to nominate her to go off and work, do a summer, at the time, a summer apprenticeship with NASA. It was called the Summer Research Apprenticeship for High School Students, NASA Sharp Plus. And it was during that time, because Mr. Nominee identified me for that program and nominated me and I got in, I was actually exposed to the field of engineering. At that time, I was just a 15-year-old who loved science, both physics, chemistry, as well as calculus, but didn't know what to do with it. But going off and working during that experience that summer, after my sophomore year and into my junior year, I actually learned about the field of engineering and the fact that engineering actually combined everything that I loved, the mathematics and the science. So I had him at the high school level, but I can tell you that throughout my collegiate years, my graduate years, and then even in industry, I've had mentors and supporters along the way who have come and helped me to learn how to dream, learn how to create the path that I might want to pursue, or that I have pursued, I should say now. So we have these great supporters that I believe they start as your parents, family members, friends, colleagues, and then we move into great educators. I think that's the building block for the future that you'll have in your career. And as I mentioned before, I went off during high school and worked in the summer high school apprenticeship program with NASA. And NASA paired high school students up with a researcher who had NASA funding for their labs. And I worked with Professor Peter Smiranotis at the University of Cincinnati. It was really nice. We actually got to go up to the Lewis Center in Ohio there as well. But during that time, I actually worked on the equation here is the oxidative methylation of acetonitrile to acrylonitrile. All that to say is, I learned that you can use engineering to take something that's not useful, modify it just a little, and make it useful for someone, either to sell as a product or to use in another environment. And it was a really nice experience. I worked with one of his graduate students. But it was there that I opened my eyes to engineering. Not knowing the field that I would pay, but it planted the seed. And I believe that exposure is key to us helping anyone build their future or create their future. Because the more things that you are exposed to, the ideas they generate, and just the thought patterns that you can connect to potentially go on and do something great, or something that just interests you. So that was a great experience when it came to learning and exposing me to engineering. But believe it or not, and maybe I'm just wired a little funny, but being about 16 years old at that time, I decided that I'm going to get a PhD in chemical engineering. I had no idea what that really entailed and meant, but Professor Smiriotis had a PhD, and I noticed that at that young age that came with credibility as well as the ability to be creative and to think of new ideas and to go after new frontiers. And you could literally help. It just fascinated me. Take something that wasn't useful and make it very useful. So I went on. After Princeton, I went on, as Stephanie mentioned, to Northwestern, and I had the opportunity to work with Professor John Torkelson. And the part of my journey here is that I would say that was key, is don't be afraid of things that terrify you. You might not believe it, but I was a pretty dainty child, very thin, and I hated mechanical things and big things. And Professor Torkelson had one research platform that was around solid-state shear pulverization. And it's just as scary as it sounds. It's a modified twin screw extruder that instead of operates in the melt state, it's cooled so that it operates in the solid state. So you use mechanochemistry to make new materials. And at that time, we were making polymer blends and nanocomposites with conventional polyolefins. So I literally was terrified of tools, had never really used any, and I can't tell you how many times my materials or ideas didn't work and the pulverizer got stuck, and I had to figure out how to take that apart and put it back together again. So you never know by taking on something that you fear how you'll grow and be able to challenge yourself. But worked under Professor Torkelson, and some people actually steered clear of Professor Torkelson because he was known to be pretty hard on the students. And in the time that I worked with him, what I learned is that he was hard because he cared. And the skills that he taught me were very translatable, not just in the academic setting, but to the industrial setting as well. And he really taught us how to think critically about problems and come up with solutions. And I just shared it, actually during that time, I actually received my first granted patent because of some work we did around the recyclability of polyethylene terephthalate. And that was truly my idea. I remember having to convince Professor Torkelson that it was true. He made me do extra experiments for about a year to do so. But it was all worth it. And it was truly a great time. But that time, again, from high school to university, all prepared me for the opportunities that would lie ahead. And the first place that I went was the Dow Chemical Company. Dow was a natural fit for me because when I committed to getting that PhD, I actually never said that I wanted to work in academia. I always said that I wanted to be an industrial chemical engineer. I remember writing that in my high school senior memory book, which I still have to this day. What was fascinating to me about Dow was it actually aligned with my passion. I wanted to become an engineer because I wanted to help people. And Dow's mission / motto at the time was that it combines the power of science and technology to passionately innovate what is essential to human progress. And I learned there that I can actually take the skills that I had learned throughout my education and apply it to big problems. And that was very exciting. So during my time there, I worked and designed materials for the electronics industry. So looking at lithography to make semiconductor chips. I worked on synthesizing dispersants for heavy-duty motor engines, not using conventional lubricants, but rather polyethylene glycols. I also worked on biomaterials, so they're creating cleaning agents from biomaterials there. And then what was pretty awesome, back in January of 2010, there was a massive earthquake that actually hit the island of Haiti. And I was working for Dow at that time. My parents are actually Haitian immigrants, so this was pretty personal to me. Dow partnered with this company called Waterbrick. Cholera was devastating the country post the earthquake, and polymers that we synthesized were used to actually help convert some of the contaminated water to clean water so that we could stop the spread of cholera. So that was pretty exciting, being at Dow, using my engineering skills to actually make a difference in this world. I enjoyed my time at Dow, and actually a Dow colleague tapped me on the shoulder one day and said, hey, at the time I was living in Midland, Michigan, and I don't want to offend anyone who might be from Midland, Michigan, but it is a small town in what I like to say the middle of nowhere. It's literally in the center of the state, really far from Mackinac Island or Detroit. So he goes, I know you love to travel. There's this awesome program at BP called the Future Leaders Program. Again, this whole idea of preparation, opportunity stems from preparation. I think you'd be great for it. Everything you've shown me here, you'd be a great candidate. And he was very transparent. He applied, but he hadn't gotten in. But he thought I could be a shoe-in for it. And I did, and I got in. And it was a new opportunity. Here was a very different challenge. I went from a company that most people could love because of some of the philanthropic things that they do. It's a business-to-business company, so you don't really have a customer base at Dow, to big oil and gas, which some people can, doesn't have such a positive reception at times. But what's exciting about this, BP produces energy to power economic growth and lift people out of poverty. And it's true, and we see the increase in consumption of energy across the world because we are elevating the socioeconomic status of people across the globe, not oil and gas, but just in general society. And what's interesting about being in oil and gas today is that we're in this transition where we have to think consciously about things like climate change and how are we going to transition from an oil and gas company to an energy company and provide cleaner solutions, which is really exciting for chemical engineers. So, and this gave me an opportunity to work in a manufacturing and operations setting. So move from the lab bench and scale up. So I went from engineering materials to maintaining them. And that was pretty exciting. I supported refineries globally. So again, tying with my passion in travel. And then I designed, and I still got to appease my research bent. I designed experiments to understand how these materials would react with crude products that were not yet fully understood, and selected tools to inspect them when they were online, which was pretty exciting to me. So you can have great supporters, great educators, and great opportunities. But I honestly believe what sets you apart is passion for whatever it is that you do, whatever it is that you seek. If you have passion, the authenticity and the excitement that you have for the work that you will do will easily be conveyed. So for me, my passion converged with purpose when I was asked while at BP to go and live in Perth, Australia. There are not too many opportunities that you have to actually live abroad, but then again, to live abroad in Australia, in the most remote city in the world, was pretty exciting. And I literally had the opportunity, the time of my life there, working at the BP Kwinana refinery as the lead materials and corrosion engineer for the site. I spent 2.5 years there. And again, this whole idea of opportunity stems from preparation. I found again, most of my career has been a pull versus a push. While I was enjoying my time at Kwinana and actually had my expatriate assignment extended, I got tapped on the shoulder to actually move to the Pacific Northwest. I had never lived in the Pacific Northwest before, to come and work at the BP Cherry Point refinery just north of here in Bellingham. And this is a different challenge. Here, I went from being a technical leader to now leading people. I led a team of about 100 individuals, about 75 contractors and 25 BP employees that looked after the mechanical integrity of the site. It was a great challenge, and here are some of my team members here. As you can see, we need a little bit more diversity, so are welcome. But it was quite, it's been quite an adventure. And then again, because I was able to be effective in that role there, I was then asked to join the executive leadership team for Fuels North America, and now I'm the chief of staff to the COO of BP Fuels North America in Chicago. And I do all of this because my passion truly lies in giving back. I really do care about helping people and helping them to see what futures that they can create for themselves. So I have a lot of engagement within the community, either in direct mentorship or in mentoring with others. And I can honestly say that I've been truly satisfied with the future that I've created for myself. So in the short time that we have left, I'd like to ask you, what's in your future? And if you were to ask me that, I would answer, it stems from your preparation state. With that, I'll take any questions that you might have.
What does being chief of staff entail?
Oh, it's a pretty amazing job because at some points you could be speaking to state legislators on the behalf of the CEO, and then at other points you could have to arrange a travel diary because his personal assistant is not there. So it's literally roller coasters in terms of the differences. But I prepare executive briefs and things of that sort. I serve as the liaison between the Fuels North America business and our London office, which is our headquarters. So it's a very high profile, high visibility job. I'm basically an executive in training. You can describe it as that. That's what those roles are typically used for, which is pretty cool because, you know, very different again from my traditional engineering. But being able to think logically, being able to solve problems, very different problems, those same skill sets translate over, in my opinion.
Could you just talk a little bit more about how BP is becoming an energy company and how that looks from where you're at up at the top?
Oh, that's a great question. So how are we becoming more of an energy company? So you can look at the different types of crude slates that we are processing. We're looking at renewable stocks instead of conventional crude oils. Here in our Cherry Point refinery, we have a co-processing plant that we built, which is actually looking at taking tallow, which is beef fat, or palm oil and things of that sort, and making diesel fuel out of that. So that's just one example. We're also looking at ways in which we can reduce our carbon footprint. There are a host of projects going on from both the upstream to the downstream. If you look at one of the recent acquisitions that we did, ChargeMaster, which is located in UK, it's the largest electrical vehicle charging station company within the country. We purchased them, and essentially what it is, that's very different. So you might say, okay, so you're going to buy ChargeMaster, so you're going to put your petrochemical sites out of business, but we understand that that is the future. We opened the first fully a charging station within Shanghai, China, last year, actually. So instead of a conventional, retail gas station, it's an electrical vehicle charging station. So we're moving towards that cleaner future, which we know that is the future. If we want to be around that role, we have to play, and it's exciting.
Yeah, it's very good. Thank you.
What was your stuff like jumping your PhD or working at Dow? Was that another full situation, or did you apply directly, or did you know someone there?
Well,
I don't know.
it was somewhat of a pull because one thing, I had a very small line on that slide. I had actually won the Dow Sustainability Student Innovation Challenge while I was in graduate school because of some of that work that I received that first patent for. So Dow already kind of knew of me, and then I was asked to go to one of their special recruiting programs and was offered a job on the spot there. So it was more of a pull. But I say all that to say, it's not because I'm special. There's nothing really special about me. I can tell you all it is working hard and doing the work at the present moment, living in the present, not thinking about, I honestly, I've never thought about my next job. I've always just really focused on the job at hand and doing that well. And if you do that well, you'll be fully present and you'll gain skills that'll be translatable. People will notice you. They will call you for opportunities. If I could leave you with anything, that's what I would leave you with.
How did you find the transition from managing technical projects to managing people? And is there anything we can do now to prepare ourselves better for that?
Ooh, having a high EQ. Technical challenges to me are a lot simpler than people challenges because as I see some people laughing because I'm sure they can relate. Because as engineers, we're so used to the black and white. We have first principles that we can relate things back and derive them from. When it comes to people, it's nothing but gray. And you have to have a heart sometimes to deal with the difficult and the ugly side of people. And it can be very difficult at times, but it's also very rewarding. I had some of my greatest joys were seeing people go from where they were to what they could become and really maximizing their potential, or giving someone a really nice raise or performance that just meant something to them. And so I would say learning to be uncomfortable in the uncertain. And I would say as we transition in the future of engineering, we're going to need to have more of that because there's lots that's going to be uncertain. There are more gray problems than there are black and white problems, and being open to comfort within that space, I would say, is probably key.